In this video, I'm gonna be surviving 200 days in Minecraft Bedrock Hardcore. If you haven't seen the first 100 days, then I thoroughly encourage you to watch that video before you watch this one. But before we start, let me quickly run you through the goals that I have for these next 100 days. The first goal I have is to get full netherite gear. I pretty much already have maxed enchants from the last 100 days, so to get my perfect set of gear, all I need to do is convert it to netherite. After that, I want to actually raid that woodland mansion that is really near my base. I didn't end up raiding it in the first 100 days, so I figured that it would be fitting to do it in this video, and if I'm lucky, I may even walk away with some totems as well, which obviously is very helpful in hardcore. The next goal that I have for this video is to build a house. That may sound pretty weird, but I actually didn't get around to building a house in the first 100 days, so to make up for that in this video, I'm gonna go all out. I'm planning to build a massive wooden mansion. That way I actually have something to call home. But finally, the last goal I have is to get a full sextuple beacon, which of course involves killing 5 more withers and gathering all of the mineral blocks required to fully power them all with level 2. One last thing though before we start, if you guys could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that would honestly mean so much to me, as I'm trying my best to reach 10,000 subscribers, and thanks to you guys, we're getting pretty close. But with all of that said, let 200 days commence. And here we are, on day 101. I wanted to get to work on the first goal of this video immediately, to get full netherite gear. So after watching this cute panda sadly despawn, I ventured into the nether. The first thing I wanted to do though was actually to move my nether portal down to Y15. The reason for this was so I wouldn't have to climb up and down the stairs each time I was changing dimensions. So with my newly placed portal linked up to my base, I wanted to start gathering ancient debris. But first, I needed to decide the method of ancient debris gathering that I would use. I thought about using beds or TNT, but if you've watched my channel before, you probably know that there is something I find a little more enjoyable, and that is hand digging with a pickaxe. The only problem with that method though is that your inventory gets filled up really fast, and seeing that this is still the early game in this world, I wanted to keep everything that I mined, and instead of constantly traveling back and forth into the overworld just to dump my inventory into my chest monster, I figured that having some shulker boxes on hand would probably be a better option. The only thing is though, I didn't have any shulker boxes, so I had to travel all the way to the stronghold so that I could visit the end and gather some. Luckily, I didn't actually explore the end city that I got my elytra from, so there was an absolute ton of shulkers there ready to be killed. 49 shulker shells worth to be exact. I also got some diamonds and a couple of pieces of pretty good armor as well, which was nice. This mission was successful. I began day 103 by crafting 24 shulker boxes and almost filling up my entire ender chest. I was now ready to dig out a big chunk in the nether so that I could find some ancient debris. So after watching this cute panda sadly despawn, it was time to get to work. So I hope you enjoy this super fast ancient debris mining time lapse. And by day 107, I had gathered 19 ancient debris, which was about half of what I needed for a full set of gear. But unfortunately, I needed to take a break. The reason for this was because I needed to repair my pickaxes at the creeper farm, as they were almost out of durability. And once my pickaxes had been repaired, it was back to mining. And by day 109, I had gathered all 40 pieces of ancient debris that I needed. I wasn't sure if I'd have enough gold to craft all of the netherite ingots, but then I remembered about the gold nuggets that I had just mined in the nether, and luckily I had way more than enough gold from that. So after waiting for my furnace to do its thing, on day 110 I crafted all 10 netherite ingots, made a smithing table, and I was finally ready to turn all of my gear into netherite. But then I remembered something. Since the 1.20 update, there is actually now one more step necessary to turn diamond gear into netherite, and that is an upgrade token, which I didn't have. As I can't lie, I may have completely forgot about that feature. If you weren't aware, these upgrade tokens can only be found in bastions, so I needed to head into the nether to find some. Before I went though, I let my frustration out on this drowned, and to my surprise, I actually got a trident from it, which was nice. For some reason, watching that water zombie sadly pass away inspired me to go kill this cute panda as well. Anyway, panda murdering aside, it was now time to head into the nether in search of a bastion. And after just a few minutes of flying around, I found a bastion very quickly. But as I went in, I almost immediately flipping died. These piglin brutes are absolutely lethal and are actually known for ending hardcore worlds, so I needed to be careful. Because the only thing I cared about in this bastion was looting the chests, I decided to use an entity x-ray pack so that I could see exactly where the chests were through the walls, and therefore all I had to do was just mine myself in. You may consider this to be somewhat cheaty, but this is my single player world, therefore I'll play this how I want, and in my personal opinion, I don't really consider this cheating. Anyway, after only a few chests, I managed to find the upgrade token that I needed. I only needed one, because if you didn't know, you can actually dupe more of these tokens if you want to, just by using some diamonds and a piece of netherrack. So with my singular upgrade token acquired, I got out of the dangerous bastion as fast as I could, and returned back home to the overworld. Once I was back home, I realized that I only had enough diamonds to dupe 3 more upgrade tokens, and I needed 11 upgrade tokens in total, so that I would have 1 left over after using the other 10 on my gear. So unfortunately, I was forced to go down into the strip mines to find the rest of the diamonds that I needed. But luckily, after only 1 day of mining, I was able to get just over an entire stack of diamonds, which was actually enough to craft the rest of the upgrade tokens that I needed. So without hesitating, I crafted a smithing table and converted all of my gear to netherite. I can't lie, I was feeling pretty fancy. On day 112, with my new god armor, I figured that I would be ready for the second goal of this video, to raid the woodland mansion that had been staring at me for the past 112 days. So without dwelling, I broke in through a window, and straight away there were a few pillagers, or evokers, or whatever you call them, as well as some vexes, so I got slightly worried that I was gonna get low in health, but surprisingly enough, they barely did any damage. I guess woodland mansions really just aren't too dangerous when you have full protection for netherite armor. After a few minutes of exploring and killing evokers, I stumbled across the library. I was honestly shocked at how many bookshelves there were here. This would have been so useful to find 100 days ago, all the way back when I was grinding for an enchant setup. Anyway, because I'm poor, I broke down all 3 stacks of these bookshelves and took them all with me. You never know when they might come in handy. I also found some pumpkins, which would also be very handy in the future. It was at this point though that I realized that I had got a totem from one of the pillagers I killed earlier. I didn't even notice when it happened, but I would consider that once you've collected a totem of undying, you've essentially completed a woodland mansion. There really really isn't much else to do here. So before something bad happened, I got out of there as soon as possible. And just like that, the second goal of 200 days was completed. On day 113, I wanted to get straight into the third goal of this video, to create a wooden mansion. Now this mansion is obviously gonna take quite a few materials, mainly of which I didn't have, so I had to spend the next few days gathering shulkers upon shulkers of spruce logs, dark oak logs, jungle leaves, stone bricks, panda blood. Wait a second. The fuck? Anyway, after 17 days of just gathering materials, on day 130, it was finally time to begin construction on this house. So, let the building montage commence. So, after 40 days of building, the house was finally not completed. Yeah, I'm probably around halfway done with this project, but I'm not gonna lie, I got pretty bored of building, so I decided to take a break from building the house and focus on the other main goal that I still had left to do in this video. And that was to kill 5 more withers, gather an absolute ton of mineral blocks, and make a sextuple beacon. So, first things first, I needed to collect some wither skeleton skulls. So, it's into the nether I go. Luckily, I remembered that there was actually a fortress extremely nearby, so I could get to work hunting wither skeleton skulls straight away. And after about an hour, I managed to get 10 skulls, which was pretty good. I needed 15 in total for all 5 withers, but I decided to leave the nether for now. The reason for this was because I had enough skulls to kill 3 withers, and I figured that I'd fight those 3 now and collect the rest of the skulls for the other 2 later. So after flying a couple thousand blocks away from my base, I spawned in all 3 withers at once. Yes, you heard that right, at the same time. Let's just hope that this doesn't go wrong, because of course this is hardcore, and if I die, this series is over. If you weren't aware, right now there is a bug in Bedrock Edition where the wither will not actually poison you like it normally does, which is mainly what makes wither fights actually difficult in the first place, so not having to deal with that definitely made this fight a whole lot easier. I went ahead and did my usual strat of playing ping pong with the withers, which is basically where I just fly back and forth with my elytra and hitting them with my sword as I fly past. This strategy was working very well, and I was doing plenty of damage to all of the withers, whilst also not getting too low in health. One problem quickly occurred though. For some reason, all 3 withers were just slowly rising higher and higher into the sky. By the time I had got all of the withers down to half health, we were all literally at Y1000, which is just ridiculous. I know Bedrock is known for weird things like this, but this is just next level broken. Anyway, once the withers had got down to half health, all 3 of them flew straight downwards into the ground. Yes, I'm not joking, these withers flew downwards an entire kilometer. I have no idea why I play Bedrock. Because the withers were shooting downwards so incredibly fast, I couldn't actually actually keep up with them, and I had no idea where they went. Once I had got down to the ground, there were no withers in sight. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty worried that I had just let 3 withers out into the loose, and that they were gonna roam around my world until I found them. I flew back up to Y1000 just in case they had flew back up there, but no, there was not a single wither to be seen. I persevered though. I wasn't gonna stop looking until I found them. They had to be somewhere, right? Well, after a few minutes of flying around aimlessly, I noticed that the sky had changed color. If you didn't know, this means that there was a wither nearby. I looked around and couldn't see any on ground level, meaning that they must have been in the sky. So I used my client to turn on hitboxes, and sure enough, I could see a wither very high up there. It wasn't all 3, but that was okay, because that means that I could just focus on killing this one wither for now. But after I got a few more hits on him, bro did the same thing again, and he shot all the way down to the ground. Luckily, I was able to keep up with him this time, and I was able to continue the fight on the land. Somehow, I managed to completely flawless the wither from this point onwards. Because of the bug that I mentioned earlier, I really didn't take too much damage, and I was able to finish off wither number 1 very quickly. For a second, I couldn't spot where the nether star had landed, but I found it pretty fast, and I was relieved that 1 out of 3 withers were defeated. Now it was time to try and find the other 2. Luckily, I saw one in the distance straight away, and after flexing so hard with this water bucket MLG, it was time to take out wither number 2. And straight away, he kind of got stuck on the ground somehow. I'm not sure why he couldn't really move, but I was able to deal an absolute ton of damage within just a matter of seconds. And then I finished him off with the good old-fashioned ping-pong method. With the second nether star obtained, the only thing left to do to win this battle was to find the last wither and defeat it. Luckily, I found the last wither high up in the sky, and once again, as I got close to it, it dropped down to the ground instantly. This wither, however, spawned some wither skeletons, and by some stroke of luck, one of the skeletons actually dropped a wither skull, which was perfect, as I still needed a few more skulls for the other 2 withers that I'll fight later in the video. Unfortunately, this fight wasn't gonna be as smooth as my other 2. As I was trying to pick up the skull, the wither got me all the way down to 2 hearts. I did still have my totem, so I probably would have been fine, but this still was pretty scary. Anyway, after that, I managed to pretty easily defeat the last wither by using the trusty ping-pong method. And just like that, after quite the battle, I had managed to defeat all 3 withers. It wasn't really at the same time like I intended it to be, but oh well, I was just glad to get that over with. So after doing my celebratory MLG and watching the nether star gracefully fall from the sky, it was time to head back home. Also, here's another look at my half-built house. I don't think I gave it enough screen time before, so here you go, I guess. Anyway, as you can see in my inventory, I have 3 nether stars and 2 extra wither skeleton skulls, meaning that I need to collect 4 more skulls to kill 2 more withers and make all of the beacons that I need for this sextuple setup. So after collecting my leftover gunpowder from my creeper farm to make more firework rockets, as well as watching this cute panda sadly despawn, it was time to head back into the nether to collect those 4 wither skeleton skulls that I needed. And by day 158, I had all of the skulls that I needed. So I once again flew a few thousand blocks away to fight the final 2 withers. You've literally just seen me fight withers, so I'm just gonna skip through these. I was able to take these 2 out pretty easily, ignoring the time that I accidentally popped my singular totem. but you know, we don't need to talk about that. But yeah, after 8 days of grinding, I finally had 5 wither stars to my name. So after quickly going to the end to gather some obsidian, as well as smelting some sand for glass, on day 160, I was able to craft 5 more beacons. So it was now finally time to construct this sextuple pyramid. But unfortunately, there was one very small issue. I had absolutely nowhere near enough mineral blocks, so for now, these beacons had to be floating. So at this point, there was only one thing on my mind, and that was to harvest my crop farms. After I'd finished with that, there was only one thing on my mind, and that was to gather all of the mineral blocks necessary for this beacon. So I thought about making an iron farm, but I'm not gonna lie, I really just could not be bothered, so I opted to just go mining instead. But first, before I got to work, I quickly decided to link up a nether portal from the stronghold on day 161. The reason for this was because I was planning on doing a big project in the end in the next episode of this series, and I didn't fancy flying back and forth 1,000 blocks each time I wanted to switch dimensions. Luckily, I already had a big area dug out from the ancient debris gathering at the start of this video, so luckily the stronghold portal just linked up in this hole at the bottom of the nether. Okay, enough dilly-dallying. It was now time to mine all of the mineral blocks that I would need. And finally, by day 170, I had gathered all of the iron and gold for this sextuple beacon. The only thing left to do was to power them all with level 2 effects, and place some blue glass to make these wonderful blue beams. And just like that, the third goal of these 100 days was completed. But you might be asking to yourself, Smurf, what's the last goal again? Well, let me remind you. This house is still not completed, so with 30 days left, we should probably change that. So please enjoy the last montage of this video. And just like that, it was day 200. I had done it. I had survived 200 days in Minecraft Bedrock Hardcore. Unfortunately, I didn't quite have enough time to finish the interior of the house in this video, so that will have to be something we do at the start of 300 days, as well as actually moving in, of course. What do you guys think of this house? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, after watching this cute panda sadly despawn, it was now time to watch the sunset and celebrate 200 days in this world. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and also subscribing to the channel. I'm getting closer and closer to 10,000 subscribers, so if you could help me out, that would mean so much to me. Anyway, this was 200 days in Minecraft Bedrock Hardcore.